Discover the incredible journey of a farmer left behind. A heartwarming tale of unexpected strength. Jackie Thompson stood on his perch of dust and dreams, gazing out over the parched fields that once burst with life. His heart, heavy as the skies above, ached for the days when green stalks of corn swayed gently in the breeze, when laughter echoed down the lanes of this small Midwest town. He could almost hear his late father's gravelly voice, forged in the fires of World War II, teaching him about resilience, community, and the profound beauty of togetherness. But now, the relentless drought loomed like a cloud of despair over his life, threatening to swallow everything whole. Every day brought fresh reminders of his dwindling prospects, mounting bills, and fraying ties with his neighbors etched into his mind like bitter scars. Jackie clenched his fists, recalling the hurried whispers that turned vibrant conversations into tense exchanges, where survival seemed to breed rivalry instead of unity. And then there was Kyle, his estranged brother, who had flown back to town, wrapped in the armor of corporate success, but wielding a disdain for the very world Jackie cherished. Every encounter was a minefield of unspoken grievances and misunderstandings, each word loaded like a bullet. But hope, as stubborn as the weeds in his fields, refused to die. One evening, a spark ignited within him. He envisioned a community initiative that could breathe life back into their town, a program to distribute fresh produce to the seniors who had watched the seasons change with wisdom etched in their weathered faces. Jackie poured his heart into it, coaxing fellow farmers out of their homes. Slowly, the walls began to crumble. Laughter rippled through the air again, infused with the smell of fresh dirt and ripe tomatoes. Those worn-out smiles fueled his determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Jackie felt the flickers of hope turning into a blaze of possibility, the heavens roared. A storm rolled in, darkening the skies and igniting chaos across the fields. The winds howled, an angry symphony that mirrored the turmoil within him. Townsfolk dashed around, their frightened faces reflecting the growing tension. The spirit of togetherness came under threat as survival instincts took over. Selfishness clawed at the edges of their hearts. And that was when the storm mirrored the storm in his soul. Jackie saw Kyle's face twisted in frustration, remembered their shared laughter now tainted with bitterness. In the tempest's eye, old grievances bubbled to the surface, threatening to drown everything. Jackie's resolve wavered, caught between loyalty to family and the suffocating weight of survival. As the winds calmed, Jackie found himself standing amid ruins not just of fields, but of brotherhood. Deep down, a question stirred: could they weather this storm, mend the cracks, and redefine what home meant? Only one truth lingered. Amidst the wreckage, the seeds of new beginnings awaited. Would Jackie find the courage to sow them? The heart of the story remained spiraling into uncertainty, waiting for the reader to discover what sacrifices love might ask for true redemption in the soil they cherished. Jackie stood in what felt like the eye of a different storm. The winds had died down, but the emotional chaos raged within him. The aftermath of the tempest was more than the destruction of crops. It tore at the fabric of the community he had tried so hard to rebuild. As he surveyed the scattered debris of his initiative, a fallen banner here, an overturned crate there, he felt the weight of disappointment settle like a thick fog. But through the haze, a flicker of determination sparked. Despite the storm's rage, he had witnessed something remarkable. People had banded together, if only for a moment, to help each other in the wake of disaster. Old Mr. Jensen had given his spare tarp to help cover someone's broken fence. Mrs. O'Leary and her daughter had bared their arms, ready to aid any neighbor who needed help. Jackie realized that beneath the brittle surface of their strife, the roots of community still ran deep. Over the next few days, Jackie worked tirelessly to piece together his plans. He called another meeting, this time at the old barn that had become a makeshift hub for relief efforts. As he arrived, he was greeted not by the usual indifferent murmurs, but by hopeful voices. Farmers and neighbors convened, eyes bright with a mixture of concern and the fragile yet undeniable urge to contribute. "I'm glad you're all here," Jackie started, his heart thumping in his chest. "I know times are tough, but this storm has shown us something we can't ignore. Together, we've already begun to help each other out. Let us turn that into something bigger." As he spoke, the room filled with nods and murmurs of agreement. Old grievances began to wash away, fueled by a shared sense of purpose. Jackie's heart swelled with a renewed spirit. That evening, brainstorming ideas felt invigorating. A local contest emerged, harvesting hope, where they would encourage families to donate their best produce to create baskets for the elderly. Everyone who participated would enter in a drawing for small prizes donated by local businesses. Fun ideas bubbled between tentative smiles and laughter, recalling joyous harvests of the past. But among the laughter, Jackie noticed Kyle's rigid posture in the corner. The walls of resentment still stood strong between them. Engulfed in his own self-doubt, Jackie felt the ache of an unresolved rift. Would his brother ever understand? Would he see the beauty in their hometown the way Jackie finally did? The contest day came, and the barn overflowed with laughter, color, and a heartwarming array of produce. Families came together, painting signs and displaying their vibrant displays like peacocks flaunting feathers. As each basket was filled, Jackie caught glimpses of his father's spirited approval in the glances around him. Yet, despite the warmth radiating through the barn, there was still a distance from Kyle. After everything calmed, Jackie found Kyle alone on a weathered stool, eyes cast down. It was now or never. Rising with determination, Jackie approached him slowly. "Kyle, can we talk?" he said, trying to keep calm. Kyle glanced up, his expression unreadable. "About what, Jackie?" "All this." He waved a hand at the harvest prep, his brows furrowed. "Yes, about all of it. About us." Jackie held his breath, poised on the brink of honesty. The tension in the air felt almost tangible. Jackie waited, heart racing as a question hung unvoiced between them. Would Kyle finally listen, or would he retreat, leaving them both lost in a field of memories where brotherhood once thrived? Hope flickered at the edges of Jackie's vision, as he waited for Kyle's response. Kyle's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, and Jackie could feel the rush of anxiety building. It was as if the air around them thickened, the laughter from the barn fading into an echo in the background. Jackie took a step closer, lifting his chin, trying to find strength in his voice. "Listen," he began softly, "I know things have been tough between us. I just want to understand where you're coming from. I miss the brother I grew up with." His voice trembled just enough to let Kyle know that this was important. Kyle shifted on the stool, a moment of indecision flickering in his eyes. "You think you know what it's like?" he snapped, voice low but edged with hurt. "You think I just don't care? You don't see what this place has become. It's broken, Jackie." Jackie's heart sank. He could feel the frustration boiling over in Kyle, and he needed to reach him before the anger could push him even further away. "I do care. I care more than I've ever let on. This place is more than just land and crops. It's home, our home. And it's already starting to come alive again." The urgency in Jackie's voice began to break through the haze of the moment. "That's easy for you to say. You didn't watch the life get sucked out of it like I did." Kyle's voice rose, but there was an unmistakable crack in it. A crack Jackie had been longing to hear. "Then let's work on it together. Look at everyone we gathered today. Look how they came together after the storm. There's still life here, Kyle. Still hope." Jackie gestured to the barn, now bustling with activity, laughter and smiles decorating every corner. "Don't you see the good in that?" Kyle looked away, eyes scanning the room but not truly seeing. Jackie took another step closer, drawing in a breath, desperate to bridge the divide. "If we let this place die, if we let our connection fade, what does that leave us with? Just ghosts of what used to be, and I refuse to let that happen to us." For a moment, silence enveloped the brothers, thick and heavy. Then Kyle clenched his jaw, his body tense like a coiled spring. "You don't get it, do you? I don't want to be part of this town. I don't want to look back at all the things that could have been." Jackie's heart twisted at the pain he saw in Kyle's expression. "But running away isn't the answer." He paused, searching for the right words, knowing this was a crucial moment. "What if this is our chance to change it? To heal it together? Something flickered in Kyle's eyes. Something Jackie could only describe as a glimmer of a memory of brotherhood, laughter, shared dreams. And if we fail? What then? We build again, Jackie responded, the sincerity in his voice unyielding. But we do it together this time. Kyle hesitated. A myriad of emotion crossed his face. Fear, anger, hope, all tangled like the vines in their father's old garden. And then, just when Jackie thought Kyle was going to turn away again, he took a deep breath, his shoulders sagging slightly as if accepting something monumental. Maybe I could help, Kyle finally said, his voice barely above a whisper, laced with uncertainty. A rush of relief flooded through Jackie. This was their chance, their moment. But before he could respond, a shout echoed from the barn, tugging at both their attention. Hey, we need more baskets in here. Come on. It was Mrs. O'Leary's daughter, her cheer cutting through the tension like a hot knife. Kyle looked back at Jackie, a new light flickering in their shared silence. This was an opening, but what would it lead to? Would they find their way back to each other amidst the busy laughter and community spirit? As they turned towards the barn, Jackie felt a mix of hope and apprehension. Maybe this moment was just the beginning. But would it be enough to mend the scar tissue between them? Jackie's heart raced as they walked side by side toward the laughter. The road ahead was uncertain and messy, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, a spark igniting the possibility of healing. Just then, Jackie caught a glimpse of the rest of the community, enveloped in the warmth of shared purpose. Could they rebuild not just the town, but their brotherhood too? He wondered if they were ready to face the storm that lay ahead together. As they approached the barn, the lively chatter pressed in on Jackie and Kyle, shoving away the tension that had lingered like a stubborn shadow. The sounds of community laughter, upbeat music, and the clanging of metal against wood filled the air, drowning out the whispers of doubt that had plagued their earlier conversation. Jackie glanced sideways at Kyle, whose features seemed softer, as if the clouds were parting just a little. Maybe, just maybe, they could lighten the load together. Inside the barn, volunteers bustled about, spinning woven baskets and filling them with freshly picked produce. The smell of earth and warmth enveloped Jackie, rekindling memories of summers spent working alongside Kyle under the watchful gaze of their father. Bouncing back to the present, he nudged Kyle's shoulder. See? Look at all these people. They believe in this place. Kyle squinted, tension still lingering around his mouth. Yeah, but they don't know what it's like to watch everything fall apart. Jackie felt a heady mix of frustration and understanding. No, they don't. But maybe they also haven't given up. What if you allowed yourself to feel that too? Kyle's gaze fell to the floor, the dust swirling around his boots as he stood still in the midst of chaos. Jackie could see the struggle in his brother's eyes, that internal battle between holding on and letting go. It twisted Jackie's heart, knowing how much Kyle had carried alone. Before Jackie could say more, Mrs. O'Leary bustled up, her arms laden with tomatoes fresh from the garden. Come on, you two. We can't do this without you. Her voice radiated warmth, as if she had walked into the room just to offer a lifeline to them. As they took the baskets, Kyle hesitated at first. What do you want me to do? He asked, his tone a curious mix of frustration and willingness to move forward. Just pitch in. Help us fill these up and then go help the other team with the cleanup, Mrs. O'Leary encouraged. Kyle looked to Jackie, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face again. Come on, Kyle, Jackie urged, an unspoken plea in his eyes. Remember when we used to work at the farm stands in the summer? Don't you miss that? And then, as if the tether between the past and present had finally snapped for Kyle, a small smile tugged at his lips. All right, let us do it. The brothers worked side by side, scooping up tomatoes and stacking them in baskets, their movements gradually sinking as laughter bounced around them. With each laugh, each exchange of stories shared with the other volunteers, the cracks in Kyle's hardened exterior began to widen, letting in the light. It's nice to see you smile, Jackie said, the smallest glimmer of hope shimmering in his voice. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to remember what it feels like, Kyle replied, the weight of nostalgia hovering in the air. As they filled the last basket, Jackie felt a rush of gratitude. This was no longer just about the town, but about them too. Then, just as the atmosphere felt lighter, a loud crash erupted from outside, silencing the barn. Jackie turned sharply, Heart racing. The door swung open, revealing a frantic group of neighbors followed by a thick cloud of dust. Help! The barn roof. It's starting to cave in. Eyes widened. Panic gripped him as Jackie exchanged a look with Kyle. Were they ready to face yet another challenge? Could they hold their ground as brothers against the storm that seemed to be circling them once again? Jackie's heart raced, each beat echoing the urgency of the moment. The words hung heavy in the air, spinning a web of fear and responsibility around him. With a quick glance at Kyle, he could see the shift his brother's earlier warmth had melted back into a protective shell. But Jackie couldn't let that happen now. We have to help. He shouted over the rising noise, his voice breaking through the wall of disbelief. The crowd's panic intertwined with the chaotic atmosphere. But the sight of the barn's roof sagging under the weight of despair ignited something fierce in him. Okay. Kyle responded, his voice strained. He took a few tentative steps toward the door. Let us go. Together, they burst out into the sunlight, squinting as dust hung thick in the air. Jackie's stomach twisted at the sight. The barn, once vibrant with life, now appeared quite vulnerable. It was a structure built with memories, one that told stories of laughter and labor. He felt the weight of those memories crashing down with the roof itself. Over there, someone yelled, pointing to a group of neighbors struggling to hoist wooden supports against the crumbling structure. Jackie's instinct kicked in, and he grabbed a beam and raced over to join them. Come on, Kyle, he called, hoping his brother would follow. Kyle hesitated at first, his feet momentarily frozen to the ground as doubt crept in. But then he moved, urgency pushing past his reservations. Jackie's heart swelled with gratitude. Maybe, just maybe, they were walking this tightrope together. The debris shifted threateningly as they maneuvered the beam, each groan and creak igniting fears of failure. Hold it steady, Jackie shouted, feeling the sweat bead along his brow. He glanced at Kyle, whose face showed fierce determination, a reflection of the boy he used to know. Just like old times, huh? Kyle huffed, trying to keep a tight grip on the support. Yet Jackie panted, a wave of nostalgia crashing over him. The difference is, we can't let this place fall apart. A group of elderly women had joined the frantic effort, passing tools back and forth like a well-oiled machine. Their frantic energy was contagious, and Kyle's earlier shadows began to lift a little more with each exchange. He dropped the beam into place, eyes widened in surprise at the growing unity around them. Get that hammer, someone shouted, and Kyle found himself sprinting across the bustling crowd. Jackie couldn't help but smile at the spark igniting in his brother. Maybe the storm could be weathered after all. Side by side, they worked, hammering, supporting, and shouting encouragement. Each moment built a bridge, slowly reconnecting fragments of their shared dreams. But just as they secured one corner of the structure, a loud crack rang out. Jackie spun around, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. The roof gave way a little more, bending dangerously. The collective gasps of the crowd amplified the sound, filling Jackie's ears with a horror he couldn't ignore. Get back, he shouted instinctively, pushing Kyle away. The sky dimmed as more dust whispered downward, threatening everything they were fighting for: family, community, hope. Jackie. Kyle's voice trembled. In that instant it was clear. Something was about to give. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Jackie glanced around, fear and determination battling within him. Would they be able to save their memories, their lives, and perhaps keep each other together, too? Or was this one battle too far? The moment hung like a pendulum, waiting for the decisive swing as Jackie braced himself for what was to come, knowing that the stakes had never felt higher. Jackie's heart pounded louder than the impending collapse above him. He shot a desperate look at the sagging roof, then back to Kyle, who was still reeling from the shove. Fear gripped him like a vice. The dust thickened, swirling around them like memories trying to escape. Kyle, we have to move, he yelled again, urgency filling his voice. Traffic of bodies surged as neighbors retreated instinctively. But Jackie felt that urgency transform into something more fierce, a calling to save what they should not lose. We can do this. We have to hold on, he urged, grabbing Kyle's arm, pulling him toward the straining beam. The barn, Kyle whispered, confusion shadowing his eyes. What if it falls? What if we? Jackie cut him off, his expression hardening. What if we don't do anything? We can't bury our past under rubble. All at once, Jackie's conviction burned brighter than the fear lingering in his gut. With a shared nod, they returned to the group, their hands feasting on adrenaline as they wedged the beam back in place. A ripple of determination pulsed through the crowd. We need more supports. A voice called out. It was Marge, the town's beloved baker, her apron dusted with flour and sweat. In moments, everyone sprang into action, the energy electrifying. Carrying boards and props, laughter broke the tension. A reminder of a community woven tightly through every yarn of despair. Jackie scanned the faces and saw the grit behind their eyes, neighbors risking themselves to shield a memory. Look out! Watch your. The sound was like thunder. A deeply shaking crack jolting Jackie from his thoughts. A section of the roof dropped lower, scattering dust like confetti. Instinct kicked in as he dove to push Kyle further back. No! He yelled, horrified. Kyle's eyes widened, fear mixing with defiance. I won't let it go. This place is everything. His voice broke as he fought against Jackie's grip. Jackie's heart crushed under the weight of his brother's emotion. Kyle, listen to me. It can't mean everything if we're buried beneath it. With urgency, Jackie shouted to the crowd. We need to secure the corners. Move. Now. They worked, sweat pouring from them. Each man and woman driving stakes into the ground, fastening ties. Jackie's hands ached, but he didn't stop. Every muscle burned, every heart pulsed, and together they thrummed with energy, the kind that could ward off the hell that threatened their future. Kyle jumped in, hammering. Their eyes locked, a silent promise passing between them. He was right there, fighting against the decay of their roots, unwilling to let go, an anchor in the eye of a storm. Almost there. Jackie shouted, grabbing another beam just as Kyle turned. Suddenly, a roar echoed, a sound that swelled like a tidal wave. The barn shuddered, the air thick with anxiety. Then, without warning, the structure tremored violently. Jackie's mind screamed a warning, an intuition sharp as glass. Get back! He yelled, pushing aside those closest to him. He barely had time to react as people surged away from the collapsing roof, dust enveloping them in a hazy veil. Time slowed. Voices faded, replaced by the deafening crack of wood splintering. The world felt surreal, like they were all caught in a slow-motion dream. But Jackie couldn't afford to wait. His eyes locked onto Kyle, who backed up but was still there, staunch and ready. Would this be the moment they break apart again? Together! Jackie shouted, as he dove to grab Kyle's arm. Fear whispered at the edges of his resolve. But somehow, their spirit merged brotherhood. Unity against chaos. Hand in hand, they were forged into a single determination. The air held its breath. Would they rise or would they be lost? Just then, amidst the chaos, Jackie's eyes caught a flicker of movement. Someone else was straining against the shadows of the barn. And it wasn't just timber that was at risk. What did he see? Jackie squinted against the thick cloud of dust, trying to decipher the figure moving just beyond the safety of the beam. His heart raced, pounding in sync with the crumbling structure above them. Who was it? Could they be in danger? Jackie! Focus! Kyle's voice echoed, and for a moment, it cut through the chaos like a knife. Jackie turned back to his brother, whose face was a mix of desperation and resolve. The world around them was unraveling, but now he felt the weight of both their hopes resting squarely on his shoulders. Stay close! Jackie shouted over the roar. He pulled Kyle back just as another sooty piece of timber crashed to the ground, sending shockwaves of fear rippling through the crowd. The flicker of movement drew Jackie's attention again. The figure was stumbling, clutching at a beam for support, eyes wide with panic. It was Sam, the old farmer from down the road. His frail but unwavering spirit had always been a beacon for the community. What was he doing here? Help! Please! Sam's voice strained against the sound of collapsing wood, fear shining in his eyes like a candle flickering in the wind. He was pinned beneath a heavy beam, struggling to push it away. As Jackie processed the urgency of the situation, adrenaline surged through him like a bolt of lightning. Jackie looked at Kyle, who was already moving toward their neighbor, his eyes fierce with determination. We can't leave him, Kyle called as he rushed past Jackie, urgency fueling his every step. Even amid the chaos, the bond of community was stronger than fear itself. Hold on, Sam. Jackie yelled, joining Kyle. Together they pushed against the beam, but it barely budged. Sweat dripped down their brows, mingling with dust as they strained with all their might. The crowd murmured, their own hope flickering between despair and action. "Come on, boys. You can do it." Marge's voice rang out, lending strength to their efforts. The encouragement swelled like a tide, lifting the spirits of those watching and igniting a fire within Jackie. "On three," Jackie said, catching Kyle's eye. 1, 2, 3. Together they heaved, instinct drawing other townsfolk to join in. Hands joined, a chain of strength forming to lift Sam. The air crackled with energy, desperation morphing into a singular purpose. The beam shifted, groaning against their collective strength. It scraped along the floor, moving aside just enough for Sam to roll free. The crowd erupted into cheers, voices thick with relief. But Jackie's heart raced still, knowing they weren't safe yet. The barn felt like it could collapse at any moment. Sam gasped for breath, gratitude washing over his features. "Thank you." I thought his voice wavered, filled with emotion. "I thought I was done for." "Never, Sam," Kyle replied, clapping a hand on his shoulder. Jackie felt a rush of camaraderie, unity binding them tighter than ever before. Yet, as they celebrated a small victory, the rumble of the barn still growled ominously overhead. Jackie's eyes darted back to the shadows, scanning for any signs of trouble. The battle wasn't over. He couldn't shake the feeling that something else was lurking within the thick air. "Time to get everyone out," Jackie shouted. But just as he turned, another crack echoed, louder this time like the roar of a beast awakening. An ominous tremor rippled through the barn, and Jackie's heart sank. The structure seemed to shudder in response, as if it had one last blow to deal. "Run!" Kyle shouted, and that was all it took. The crowd surged, stumbling toward the exits as dust poured like a curtain around them. "Jackie!" "Kyle!" Sam called, panic rising in his voice. Jackie looked back, breath hitching. If they didn't escape now, they might never have a chance. A desperate sense of duty propelled him forward. But was it too late to save everyone? As the wood groaned again, loud and terrible, Jackie saw a shadow slipping into the recesses of the collapsing barn. What was that? What kind of fear waited for them inside? Jackie felt panic clawing at his throat as darkness loomed around him. The barn was no longer just a structure. It transformed into a living thing, a beast growling for its sacrifices. He shared one last glance with Kyle, a mix of grit and urgency that told him they had to keep moving. "Come on. We have to stay together," Jackie shouted, pushing through the throng of frightened townsfolk who surged toward the exit. Hands grasped at him, faces twisted in fear. He could see it in their eyes, the same fear he felt, the fear of losing everything. The shadows were swirling now. They danced at the edges of the beams that still stood, whispering threats with every crack that splintered in the air. "Jackie, look!" Kyle yelled, pointing frantically while dodging a falling piece of timber. Jackie followed his brother's gaze and his heart dropped. A figure stood frozen near the far end of the barn, silhouetted against the dim light filtering through crevices. "Who is it?" he said, barely hearing his own voice above the deafening crashing sounds. "It's Mrs. Thompson," Kyle shouted, recognition flashing across his face. The elderly woman, known for her baking and warmth, was crouched near the ground, hands pressed to her ears, overwhelmed and disoriented. Jackie felt a surge of protective instinct and started toward her, but the weight of the chaos pulled him back. "We have to get everyone out." He remembered the urgency. "She can't stay," Kyle shouted, grabbing Jackie's arm with an iron grip. "We can't save them all." The words struck Jackie like a slap. His heart twisted. How could they leave anyone behind? Yet the barn hissed angrily above them again, the walls shuddering as if in protest to their indecision. "Mrs. Thompson," Jackie called out, trying to push through the crowd. "We need you to move. Get up." Panic-stricken eyes met his. "I can't, my legs," she sputtered. The frailty in her voice shattered him further. In a heartbeat, Kyle was next to her, strong arms wrapping around her as he hoisted her up with surprising gentleness. "You're not leaving her behind. Not while we are here." Jackie joined them, supporting her other side. Together, they moved, each step slower than the last as the barn seemed to fight against them. They were a living counterpoint to the destruction around them, a flicker of hope against the suffocating darkness. But the noise grew louder, a constant reminder of their time running out. Faster, Jackie urged, feeling Mrs. Thompson's grip tighten, her breath coming in sharp gasps. As they neared the exit, the ground trembled with renewed ferocity. Dust thickened in the air, and then time itself seemed to splinter. The beam overhead broke loose with a furious crack, coming crashing down just steps behind them. Run! Don't look back! Kyle shouted, adrenaline kicking in. They stumbled into the bright light outside, a cacophony of gasps and cries filling the air as safety pushed them onward. But Jackie's heart thumped wildly in his chest as he turned, searching for faces in the crowd. Were they all out? Where's Sam? Someone cried from behind. Did anyone see him? Another added, panic escalating again. Jackie felt despair settling in his stomach. There was no way. Not after all that sacrifice, all that effort. They had to find him. Stay here, he shouted to Kyle, who shook his head, determination clear in his eyes. Jackie had never felt more uncertain. We can't leave him. Another tremor shook the ground beneath them. The barn was still standing, but not for long. Would their small victories mean anything if they left one of their own behind? Time was running out, and the uncertainty gnawed at his heart. Jackie set his jaw, turning toward the barn again. We go back now. What they would face inside seemed worse than the crumbling walls. Could they brave the chaos again? Would they find Sam before it was too late? Jackie plunged back into the barn, each step heavy with dread. The shadows seemed to close in around him, wrapping him in an embrace of despair. He could hear Kyle's voice, distant yet urgent, but it barely registered. The barn groaned above them. The chaos echoed in the creaks and moans of the wood. Sam, where are you? Jackie called, desperation cracking his voice. He squeezed through narrow gaps between terrified townsfolk who struggled to escape, their faces ghostly in the flickering light. He flicked on his flashlight, the beam cutting through the dark, illuminating splintered wood and fallen debris. We need to find him before it's too late. Each word was a solemn promise to himself. He and Kyle had always been the protectors, but uncertainty gnawed at him. Every moment spent searching was a moment closer to collapse. Sam, he yelled again, feeling the weight of the barn shift and groan, as if it were alive and angry at their very presence. The air thickened with dust and dread. Then fleetingly he saw a figure slumped against a beam, half buried under fallen hay bales and disarray. The flashlight beam caught a flash of denim Sam. He dashed forward, adrenaline fueling his steps. Hold on, I got you. He knelt beside his friend, clearing the hay bales as fast as he could, feeling the tremors beneath him. Sam's eyes fluttered open, shock filling them. Jackie. Kyle, his voice trembled, but he was alive. Relief washed over Jackie as he pulled him up, swiftly supporting him as they stumbled against the chaos. Let us go, Kyle shouted, still scanning the dim corners of the barn, alert for any last-minute danger. But even as they turned for the exit, the barn seemed to lurch, like a wounded beast trying to dislodge its tormentors. Jackie felt something shift overhead. The air crackled with warning. Run! He yelled, grabbing Sam by the arm, all while pushing himself back into protective mode. Every second was a battle, a contest with time itself as the floor beneath him shuddered violently. Freedom was just ahead, sunlight pouring in, but the ground rumbled, and a low roar filled the air. The far wall cracked dramatically, with splintering, sending jagged slivers flying through the air. Come on, Kyle shouted, determination etched into every line of his face. They fled toward the shimmering light, but the barn was fighting back. Just as they reached the opening, a beam fell from above, barely missing them as they dove outside, tumbling onto the cool ground. Dust settled around them, but the sunlight felt warmer now, like a blanket of safety wrapping them tight. Panting heavily, Jackie looked around at the scattering crowd, catching sight of familiar faces, of worried looks that melted into pools of relief. But it was fleeting. Did everyone make it? He panted, searching through the throng. Where's Mrs. Thompson? Someone shouted from behind. Dread struck Jackie again as he remembered the elderly woman they had left behind earlier. Didn't he get her? His heart sank. They had sacrificed too much already. How could they already be faced with another loss? Just then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a figure emerging from the chaos of the barn. It was Mrs. Thompson. She was standing upright, supported by an amazingly young girl Jackie hadn't seen before. "Jackie, we got her!" Kyle yelled, hope rekindling in his eyes. The crowd surged around the two, celebrating a second chance. But even in the moment, shadows loomed, whispering threats. Jackie's gut twisted. What if this wasn't over yet? "Let us get them away from here," he yelled. Everyone must flee the area. But as they turned to leave, a deafening roar erupted from the barn. Sudden panic surged through Jackie's veins as he slipped once more into the dark. What more would they have to endure? How could they escape the true wrath of the angry barn? The barn teetered as if deciding between the weight of its memories and the urgency of the present. Jackie felt the tremors from within shift into a cacophony of groans, cracking timber, and the rising fear of the townsfolk. "Hurry," he urged, pushing Mrs. Thompson and the young girl, her delicate hand clinging tightly to his arm. Together, they stumbled back into the daylight, the weight of uncertainty clawing at their heels. "Where's Kyle?" Jackie's heart raced as he glanced back, panic pumping through him like adrenaline. The daylight seemed cruel against the darkness inside, where chaos still reigned. The dust hung like a veil, blurring the lines between hope and despair. "He was right behind us," Mrs. Thompson gasped, her voice a fragile whisper. Jackie felt a surge of determination as he gritted his teeth. He would not leave his brother behind. "Stay here," Jackie commanded, urgency sharpening his voice. He turned back to the barn, the shadows swirling like ghosts beckoning him inward. "Kyle," he shouted into the gloom, stepping over debris, pushing past shattered hay bales and fallen beams. The air thickened, warmth almost suffocating as Jackie strained to hear over the creaking beams. Anxiety gnawed at him with every slow step, dread pouring into his veins. "Kyle," he called, his voice reverberating as the timbers responded with a dreadful groan. The shadows danced, flickering against his flashlight beam. Just as he began to think all was lost, a muffled shout came from above Jackie. The shout was filled with both urgency and frustration. "I'm coming," Jackie called, racing toward the sound. He dashed through the darkness, breathing in the musty scent of the barn while dodging falling debris. It cracked overhead, but hope surged in his chest as he zeroed in on Kyle's voice. "Jackie, I'm near the loft." Jackie clawed his way to the stairs leading up. It felt like an eternity as he scaled each step, the wood creaking ominously beneath him. One foot after another, he broke into the loft, spotting Kyle, crouched low, arms braced on a beam, sweat trickling down his brow. "Help me prop this," Kyle urged, his voice thick with exertion. The loft trembled dangerously, with dust swirling as the structure struggled against gravity. "Together, man." Jackie reached Kyle, sliding next to him. With all their strength, they forced the beam back in place just as the barn hissed angrily above them. "We can't let it fall." The weight settled unevenly, and they grunted in unison, their muscles straining against history, against despair. In that moment, as they held steady, Jackie felt the connection brewing, something only years of brotherhood could foster. "Ready?" Jackie wasted no time. And together they pushed with all their might. 1, 2, 3. The beam slid into place, the air thickening with relief, but the battle wasn't over. "Go," Kyle urged, the warmth in his voice igniting a spark of courage. As they descended the stairs together, the barn screamed like a wounded creature, wood shrieking as if demanding release. They burst through the door just as another beam gave way behind them, sending echoes of chaos through the air. "Jackie," a chorus of voices called, filled with urgency and relief. The crowd had gathered, faces painted with worry but illuminated by gratitude. Instinctively, Jackie moved towards the throng, and for an electric moment, everything pulled together, binding spirits like threads woven into a tapestry of hope. "Did everyone make it?" Jackie panted, catching glimpses of familiar faces, relief flooding through him as he breathed in the collective energy. "Yes," someone shouted. "We're all here." "Just next to a pile of rubble," Kyle added, hands on his hips, relieved and spent. With the chaos behind them, Jackie felt time slow, the enormity of their experience settling within him. It pulsated as breaths eased and the townsfolk basked in a shared triumph, a celebration of survival, of community strengthened anew. As they joined the others, Jackie instinctively found Kyle. And without thinking, they were enveloped in a firm embrace. The shadows of bitterness that had clouded them faded into the warmth of camaraderie. They stood together, no longer as two estranged brothers, but as pillars of a shared battle. Maybe we can build a new barn, Kyle said, finally breaking the silence. Or better yet, let us build something that stands for each of us. Jackie grinned, the weight of worry lifting with each word. And in that moment, amidst laughter and tears of joy, the heart of their community began to beat once again. The seeds of resilience were planted, stronger than ever, nurtured by shared struggle and newfound understanding. They kicked up dust in a celebration of rebirth, activated by hope and a tenacity stitched together by hands willing to work after a storm. In the fading light of evening, Jackie looked around, feeling his heart swell. Together was all they needed, and together they would thrive. Now was the time for rebirth. Before you go, it's your moment. You need to subscribe now to capture this incredible journey and never miss a story again. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm that keeps us going. Comment below, share your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread hope and community.